Hi guys, this is gs@noun.com and I'm here with an almost oldie but goldie. It's the Sony Xperia X Performance for a full review. This handset is about 1 year old, but it's still pretty solid even by today's standards. So the Sony Xperia X Performance, it's kind of better late than never handset. It's still going strong. It was launched in the first half of 2016 and it's theoretically the predecessor to the Xperia XZ. So we're dealing with a handset that right now is priced at around $400 to $500 on Amazon, which is a very solid price considering its camera. And this model has the typical Sony design and a flagship CPU and camera once again for the first half of 2016. As far as the design is concerned, it's a bit big, this one, for a 5-incher. You can almost believe it's a 5.5-incher, but no, 5-inch only. It measures 8.7 millimeters in thickness and weighs 164.4 grams. You should know that it's actually 0.6 millimeters thicker than the Xperia XZ and 3 grams heavier, compared to the HTC 10, where it's a bit slimmer and it's also 3 grams heavier than that model. Anyways, we got a slightly curved panel at the front, only slightly, pretty big bezels for current standards, 5-inch diagonal, and apparently a brushed metal back, although it sounds kind of hollow and feels like plastic, but in the end should be metal. Anyways, we get a pretty straight design, the usual rectangular format with curved corners, as you can see here. From what I've heard, there's no Gorilla Glass protection, so Sony used another technology here. And also apparently we have polycarbonate on the sides. I'm sure there's a metal frame somewhere, but what's here is that there's polycarbonate on these sides. The slot is quite easy to access, and if you pull it out, the phone resets. I'm not going to do that, but at least it's quite easy to access. We got the buttons here. This is the power button, and the volume button is kind of low, not exactly very comfy to reach. Speaking of comfy, the phone is easy to use with a single hand, as I'm doing right now, and other than that, you should know it's IP68 certified, which means water and dust resilient. One of the things that Sony missed here, one small detail, the audio jack. If you move your finger on top of it, it will drag, it will almost scratch you, so it hasn't been finished properly, and the devil is in the details, so keep that in mind. Pretty scratchy, this one here. The phone is available in white, black gold or rose gold, and I would say typical design, but Sony did forget some things here, like the polycarbonate, the scratchy area, and maybe even the slot design. Anyways, we move further to the display. This one is a pretty bright screen, as you can see, and check this out, we're at about 40% brightness level, so that's impressive. It's a 5-inch IPS LCD with a Full HD resolution and the usual lingo from Sony, you know the drill. Triluminous, live color, LED, live color creation, X reality for mobile, all that. In the end, let's see them working. The video app, as usual, includes a TV guide, so you'll have to input your country and the local provider for your channels, and you'll see here all the series, documentaries, sports, basically TV guide. This is the area that also integrates streaming and things like that. And let's go to the video playback. Okay, so we got here some pretty vivid colors, but well calibrated, wide view angles, pretty crisp image, also clear, and it's a pretty bright screen with a surprisingly good contrast even in a full day of sun. And I would have to say that in spite of this being an IPS LCD, the blacks are surprisingly deep. Now let's see how this screen did in our tests, and I'm talking about the usual lux meter and all that, microscope and thingies. So this is what the screen looks like under the microscope. It's an RGB stripe setup, and we actually did multiple tests of the brightness because it's not uniform. We reached several levels of brightness like 558 lux, 545 lux, and the final one 575 lux units, which is an excellent result. You cannot feel the lack of uniformity on areas of the screen, which is good. In the end, this is actually one of the top 10 brightest phones ever we measured, which is quite nice. It beats the Google Pixel XL and iPhone 6 easily, but scores below the iPhone 6s and the OnePlus 3. Still a very solid result. As usual, we also have some tweaks, courtesy of Sony, to improve or, I don't know, customize our screen experience. Brightness level, adaptive brightness, sleep, smart backlight control, so if you keep your phone pointed towards the face, it's active, and image enhancement with X reality, making things more accurate, and super vivid, making things more vivid, as the name says. White balance is here with RGB sliders, and there's also font size, daydream, and glove mode for good measure. In the end, a very solid screen, one of the best of the year 2016. Now, when it comes to the CPU, we're running on the powerful and already famous Qualcomm Snapdragon 820 with the Adreno 530 GPU, also 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage. There's a microSD card slot, and luckily no trace of lag. Good performance, fast app open. Pick an app, open it, you'll actually experience no problem whatsoever, no matter the application, and Snapdragon 820 is still going strong. Gaming also checks out, including the game Fire Emblem Heroes, which is new, and also Riptide GP Renegade, which is our famous benchmark game, which we like to test always, because it was launched on consoles first, and that's surely our landmark. Okay, so Riptide GP Renegade, high-end graphics, loading up my account, and here we go. Pick this character, continue. I've actually played the game before, but apparently it doesn't remember my save, so I guess we'll go with that. As you can see, pretty nice looking graphics here, well rendered water. No stutter, no frame drop. And we're also doing a stunt. Things are looking hot. Okay, so gaming checks out fine in Riptide GP Renegade. It's time to go to the benchmarks. We never forget those. They're a measure of performance. As you know, some companies have been gaming the system. Sony is never on this list, which is good for them, so they have that pedigree. Now, the results were something like this. So here we go, we're rearranging the picks. In quadrant, we have the 30K score, which means we surpassed the OnePlus 2, HTC One M9, but score below the Galaxy Note 5, which is a bit older. In Antutu 6, let's find the result in this huge amount of benchmarks. Okay, so Antutu 6, we've been using it for a while now. It's a solid benchmark. That's one of the most reliable tests out there. Should be able to find it soon. Finally, here we are. Very impressive score, I have to say. This one is actually above the HTC 10 and Galaxy S7 Edge, but below the Huawei Mate 9 and Xperia XZ, so it beats the first half of the 2016 year phones, which is impressive in itself. We also did the 3D Mark iStorm Unlimited benchmark, which is the gamer's benchmark, and it's relevant if you want to do gaming and keep your phone in check. And here we have a score that's superior to the HTC One M9 and the Huawei P9 Plus, but inferior to the Moto Z and HTC 10. In general, this is a top 15 phone when it comes to the all-time results, and basically top 10 material for 2016. We also tested the temperature and achieved 36.5 degrees 36.6 degrees Celsius after playing the game you saw before, which is Riptide, and when running the intensive benchmark GFX bench, 35.1 degrees Celsius. Both are good results, so there's no overheating here. Time to go to the battery. We're dealing here with a 2700 mAh battery, lithium ion, and let's see how it did in our test. So 2700 mAh. It was able to achieve a continuous HD video playback time in a loop of 7 hours and 41 minutes, which is not very impressive. It's actually past the 100 spot in all of our models and superior only to the Huawei Honor 7 and Honor 8. Scores below the Huawei Mate S and Xperia Z5, which is certainly no compliment. Okay, so looking for the PC Mark result, let me just skip to our sister website, mobilissimo.ro. So continuous usage here is 6 hours and 5 minutes. Pretty okay-ish, let's say, if we're more permissive. It surpasses the LG G5 and Xperia Z5, but scores below the Xiaomi Mi 5 and the Moto Z. Charging is done in 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is, I would say, rather okay, not more than that. It's above the Huawei P8, but below the iPhone 6. Of course, we also have some settings for the battery. They're of the stamina type, and let's look for it here. So battery, we got the stamina mode, which prolongs the battery by disabling some features of the device, and the ultra stamina mode that adds quite a few hours to the usage and only lets you access this basic list of applications. And then there is battery optimization and how to use stamina mode. In the end, a pretty underwhelming battery, not very impressive, basically suffers from the same handicap as the Huawei P9, let's say. Now on the acoustic front, we got stereo speakers, so speaker here and speaker here, 2 speakers at the front side. We didn't get headphones with our test unit, but what we should mention that's available is FLAC support for the music application, which by the way is a successor to the famous Walkman app. and it includes Spotify integration and quite a few settings and options. So we got audio settings, we got DSEE-HX, you can upgrade compressed music, clear audio plus, sound effects, equalizer, genre settings, 5 custom channels, clear bass, surround with a ton of options, S-Force front surround, so as you can see a ton of options for the audio file. Dynamic normalizer and optimization for headphones are also here. And you can even set up the sensitivity of your microphone. Okay, time to actually listen to some tunes and see how the speakers are doing. So yes, there's a bit of muffling, you get a pretty okay volume, the back vibrates pretty badly, the bass is quite okay, and you can actually feel the surround if you activate that option, excuse me. So nice surround, nice bass, okay volume, and the voices and keys are also well rendered. Time to see what the decibel meter is telling us, because we did a bunch of decibel meter tests, and let's see what came out. So among the scores achieved here, there's 78.3 decibels. This was achieved at the front and at the bottom side, and this one involves our acoustic sample. Meanwhile, we also achieved 78.1 decibels, also at the front, but this time at the top. And if you go to the back, there will be a bit of muffling, going down to 73.3 decibels. These are all underwhelming results. However, these are achieved with our test audio sample. When you're playing a game or watching a movie, it jumps all the way to 90 decibels, which is quite good. And I felt that the overall experience was good in spite of the results achieved here. Now that we're done with the acoustics, time to discuss the camera, which is quite solid. So 23 megapixel shooter here with LED flash, Exmor RX technology, predictive hybrid autofocus, 5x clear image zoom, and a 24mm G lens, as well as f2.0 aperture. We also get a 13 megapixel camera at the front for the selfies, and now let's actually test the cam. You can either activate it by pressing this button or using the physical button here, which comes with a 2-step setup, so you can focus properly before taking a shot, which goes something like this. So focus properly and then take the shot, which is, I would say, reasonably fast. And the camera app opens fast, starts fast, we got a fluid zoom, and the focus is also quite speedy. It's a typical Sony Xperia interface. As you can see, we got a superior auto mode and its options, only a few of them here, more of them in the manual mode. Self timer, ISO, HDR, resolution, object tracking and metering, plus white balance and exposure and scene modes if you select the proper resolution. When you're filming, you can only go up to Full HD in 60 or 30 frames per second. There is no trace of 4K. And finally, we get your camera apps ready to augmented reality and also to panorama, for example. Selfies are also pretty well covered when it comes to the option department. Okay, so let me put that cube aside, and it's time to go to the gallery and see what we're dealing with here. As usual, we've taken a few shots, more than a few actually, and I'm going to start with those taken during the daytime. Even though this is a phone that some may consider old, because it was launched in the first half of 2016, it's actually stellar. So those shots were taken in February, in the earlier part of February, on a very sunny and also cold day. And I felt that the details were excellent in landscape shots, excellent brightness as well, and very good colors. Sometimes you'll find some bluish hue in the shots with snow, and also excuse the selfies, it was a very sunny day, that's why I'm frowning. Excellent face texture and brightness of the selfies, and again some shots with pretty good selfie quality. I'm talking about skin texture, hair texture and color, and in general I was happy with the achievements of the camera. Good clarity, no focus loss, and this is where the HDR was in action in a pretty fine way. Some phones would have trouble with powerful light behind the subject or powerful light in front of us. This one did not have any problem. Good in close-ups, good in landscape, excellent brightness, color exposure. Its only weak point could be the close-up focusing. It takes a while to get to focus properly, but in the end, the results are simply stellar. It's hard to say which is better, this one or the Xperia XZ. They share a common sensor. Of course, it's upgraded on the Xperia XZ and has some extras like those, if I'm not mistaken, extra focusing methods. Very good close-ups and focus play here. photos in the shade, in the sun, playing with selfies again. Very good colors, lighting, exposure, contrast, and this is where we played with the zoom. So a regular distance, zoom level 1, 2 and 3 without losing details. Perks of a 23 megapixel camera. In the end, we're very happy with the results. I have to say we beat the iPhone 7 clearly, and also we share 90% of the DNA of the quality with the Xperia XZ. It's one of the top 2016 phones. It fights even now the LG G5, Galaxy S7 and HTC 10, even the Google Pixel if you really force it. During the night time, this is what the shots look like. So we're dealing with pretty good object texture, but there's a bit of a blue hue, something that has been plaguing Sony phones, Xperia phones for a while now. We got a pretty good flash, nice clarity overall. The halos of the street lights are finally nice, they're not overblown like some other phones. Great details and lighting, some yellow and blue, especially in the corners of the image, the upper part and the corners. Also the sides may feel a bit milky or blue sometimes. It's above the Sony Xperia XA but slightly below the Xperia XZ, and you can fight the LG G5 on equal terms. Now with a very solid photo experience, we proceed to the video experience. We filmed in MP4, Full HD, 30 frames per second and 17 megapixel bitrate, and that's one of the results. When the wind is strong, you'll hear some microphone complaints. Got a nice clarity and colors. When you zoom in, there's clearly some detail loss. And we got very nice way of capturing the snow and also good focus and exposure. That's not the only video. We also tested the stabilization with a hugely impressive result. So SteadyShot is here, and just like the Xperia XZ, it feels like you're using a travel mechanism. So as you know, when they're making the movies, they're using a special, let's say, train track for travel, and that's exactly the vibe we get here. No jittering, no focus loss, no problem. Keep in mind we're descending stairs, and that's what the Sony SteadyShot stabilization is all about. So the only drawback is basically the blur when zooming in, and even that doesn't happen all the time. It's clearly above what the iPhone is offering. Sadly no 4K here, I cannot understand why. Anyway, it can fight any phone from last year. That's the daytime. Nighttime, well, not exactly impressive in the video department, sadly. We got yellow hues, blue hues, flickering blue areas that appear on top of the image, and the stabilization remains quite okay. Clarity is decent, nice colors, but the zoom is poor, and still we remain above the Xperia XA and clearly below the Xperia XZ. At least we got solid lighting here. Okay, we're done with the camera, time to see other aspects. Okay, now that we're done with the camera, time to check out the web browser, which is Chrome in this case here. So let's start off from another site and then load our website. Now let's try gsndon.com. Not the fastest browser in the world, but still handling the pressure quite reasonably, which is confirmed by the Velamo and Sunspider results in benchmark. Smooth scrolling, and the input is done with this generously spaced keyboard. It's SwiftKey and comes with support for swipe. Now we're done with the input in the browser. Time to discuss about the connectivity. The phone is available in a dual SIM or single SIM version. You can easily access the slots, and it has a nano SIM card slot, support for LTE category 9, GPS and GLONASS, Miracast, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.2, DLNA, NFC and Google Cast, plus it also has stereo recording. It also has a pretty nice feature here, which you don't see on many phones. It's called answering machine, and it does exactly what it says. Other than that, we got a loud and clear call, good signal, and all around good clarity. I was also pretty impressed by the results achieved in the speed test, which tested the Wi-Fi, and the 4G Wi-Fi got up to 433 megapixel downloads, 25 megapixel uploads, which is fine. 4G got up to 127 megapixel downloads, 46 megapixel uploads, which is also excellent. On the software front, we're dealing with a phone that came out with Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow and received Nougat in some regions of the world in January. Our unit did not get it. Anyways, it's got the typical Xperia user interface with a glossy UI, semi-transparency and side menus. Carousel for the multitasking, drop-down area with notifications and quick settings, and if you keep the home screen pressed, you'll be able to access more options like widgets, wallpapers, themes and settings. These are the widgets, which look quite nice here. Wallpapers, themes with some degree of customization, and settings that include icon size and appearance, as well as paint transition and some search recommendation and double tap to sleep. Now the actual settings are here, nothing fancy or complicated. Connectivity, themes, wallpapers, sound, display, apps, storage and security. And speaking of which, let's see how the fingerprint scanner is doing here. So we've already activated it, it's integrated in the home button. The setup process involves 20 steps, and let's see just how efficient it is. So that's enough to unlock it. We got the screen lock, the pin, and let's say you deactivate it. And then if you want to use the fingerprint, you have to go to the process all over again. Input a pin, preferably a more complicated one. We're done, and now the setup is starting. As you can see, it has quite a few steps. It's scanning my print. We're done. It was fast, although there were many steps. And let's see just how efficient we are at this angle, also at this angle. So it works without a problem. Time to discuss the pre-installed apps. I counted them all, there are 49 of them. Some familiar names like Spotify, Amazon Shopping, AVG Protection, What's New, LiveLog, Movie Creator and Sketch are all here, but 49 is a big number, even for a device with reasonably generous storage. Anyways, it's the end of the review, and this means we're about to discuss its verdict. So on the pro side, we got a comfy phone, also bright screen, top 10 performance, good acoustics, great camera all around, and very nice SteadyShot stabilization. Great speeds for download and upload, the Nougat update that gave me some regions, and those are the pros. On the con side, some build quirks. The battery is unimpressive, there is a blue hue for the nighttime pictures and videos. There's no 4K video, loads of apps pre-installed, and that's about it. It remains a very solid performer at 400 or 500 bucks. Even now, the camera is still a landmark for the past year, at least for the first half of the past year, and basically except for the battery, it's a great phone of the year 2016 and one of the phones you remember as launched in the first part of last year. Things to notice here: the pictures taken during the day, the quality videos, the good acoustics and the bright screen. This has been the review of the Xperia X Performance in a nutshell. Bye bye.